Hello, old gun guy here. Today, this video is going to be on a very old gun. It was made in 1920, so it's 104 years old. It's one of America's first successful semi-automatic hunting rifle. It's a Remington Model 8 in caliber 35 Remington. It's a product of John Browning, the gun designer's brilliant mind. In fact, there's 5 patents stamped on the barrel jacket. I'll read them briefly. Browning's patents: October 9th, 1900, October 16th, 1900, June 3rd, 1902, May 14th, 1907, and February 14th, 1911. The stamping on the barrel jacket, I don't know if it'll come out. It says Remington Arms, Union Metallic Cartridge Company, Remington Works, Ilion, New York, Model 8. Great rifle, great gun manufacturer. This is a 5-shot, recoil operated, Browning long recoil design operated semi-automatic rifle. I believe it cost a pretty penny in the day, and I think that the Model 8, they made about 80,000. It ran from 1905, a few design changes, and they named it the Model 8 in 1908. It continued production until 1936, and then it became the Model 81 Woodsmaster with a few internal designs to the receiver, the mechanical parts inside, but essentially the same rifle. And that was made until 1950. Although I think they paused production during World War II. What it is, let's get this. Let's go over the sights. You got the barrel here. All right. This is the barrel jacket, and it's integral to the operation of the firearm. This is the receiver. It has a 5-shot integral magazine. It loads from the top. It has a stripper clip guide, although I have no stripper clips for 35 Remington cartridges. So you load them one at a time by hand. The receiver is forged, beautifully machined and blued and fitted steel. It has a large charging handle on the right side. To release the bolt is currently back. The edge of the barrel is stamped 35 Remington. This rifle came out in 4 calibers. Remington invented for this rifle: the 25 Remington, 30 and 32 caliber Remington rifles, cartridges. They're all based pretty much on the same case, and the 35 Remington, which came out in 1908, was based on a slightly larger case, its own animal. The other 3 cartridges haven't been loaded by the factory in decades. They're obsolete. The 35 Remington survives to this day. 1936 became the Model 81 Woodsmaster. And essentially the same rifle. They dropped the 25 Remington loading, and they added the 300 Savage, a very good cartridge, 30 caliber cartridge, higher powered than all the other Remington cartridges. So if you should acquire or inherit one of these fine rifles in 35 Remington or 300 Savage, you'll have a rifle you can shoot today. You can buy ammunition for it today. Particulars: has a 22-inch barrel, wooden forestock, milled receiver, buttstock, a little bit of a curved butt plate. Not the most comfortable thing to shoot. No padding, metal. Large charging handle on the right side. This is the bolt release. You have to pull it down, pull back on the bolt a little bit, and pull this release down to let the bolt go forward. The safety goes up and down. That's safe, that's fire. When you got up on safe, big printed on the side of the receiver, safe, came 40 years before the Kalashnikov type safety. It blocks the bolt when it's unsafe from coming back. It covers the action from getting dirt and debris in it. Sealed system. And it also physically blocks the trigger. There's a piece of metal that blocks the trigger from moving at all. When you put it off safe, obviously you can fire the trigger, fire the weapon, and if you pull the bolt back, it'll lock if there's no cartridges. Like I said, this is the bolt stop, bolt release. The trigger pull is 5 pounds, measured with this Lyman gauge. It's pretty nice, actually. How this firearm operates, it's a very strange system in modern standards. You fire it, release the bolt. See if I can demonstrate this on camera. You fire it, the entire bolt assembly reciprocates inside this barrel jacket. It pushes back along with the locked bolt all the way to the rear of the action. So the barrel comes all the way back to here, rear of the action. The barrel has 2 big springs in here that is separate from the rest of the gun. When it reaches its end, the barrel pulls forward back to its original firing position. The case, the cartridge case, is still attached to the bolt. So the barrel leaves the cartridge case here. The cartridge case is a spring-loaded ejector in the bolt face. Once the barrel clears the ejection port, the case is free, with the ejector spring to flip out the top of the rifle. When the barrel seats forward, it trips a lever, which releases the bolt. The bolt has its own separate recoil spring inside the buttstock here, inside a tube that runs down inside the buttstock. When the bolt releases, it'll pick up a cartridge, another cartridge from the magazine, and load the rifle. So it's a kind of strange extraction ejection process, and it's not very vigorous. The cases only fall a foot or 2 from the rifle to your right side, but it works. And look at that, I cut my hand. Sharp old metal surfaces. Like I said in other videos with early firearms, takedown guns that broke down into smaller parts were a constant feature, because from the mid-19th century to the mid-20th century, trains ruled. If you want to go fast and far to different cities or different places, you went by rail. Automobiles didn't really catch their stride until after the World War II, 1950s. Back when General Eisenhower came back and became President Eisenhower, he was so impressed with the German roadway network in Germany that he started the United States interstate system to build interstate highways all over the United States. Very successful project. Money well spent there. But people would break these down, put them in suitcases, and that's what this one does. And the Model 81, that followed it, does the same thing. So basically, you gotta pull the bolt back. You got a little screw, a little thumb screw on the bottom of the fore end here. You gotta unscrew it. It's kind of tedious. Get it all the way out. I get it too far out and lose the screw. Okay. The forestock will come off. Inside the forestock is a hole that holds this lever. Okay. This lever is a screw. You have to unscrew the lever. Takes, I don't know, 20 turns or so it loosens up. The barrel comes out of the receiver. You have your 2 parts. Alright. I'll take the camera off quick and give you a close-up what that looks like. And you get the 2 parts. It's your screw and your locking lever. As a receiver, it makes a nice, handy, compact package. And I'll put this back on a tripod and reassemble it. Okay. Put it back together as reverse. Real simple, goes together quick. Into the barrel and barrel assembly into the receiver. You start turning the screw all the way down, round and round. You want to tighten it up good and then line this up. The takedown lever got to go in that little hole in the receiver and line up the forestock up, the handguard, and turn this screw in there. And this screw in there. You lock it good. All right. Of historical note, Frank Hammer, Texas Ranger, who led the posse to ambush, hunt down bank robbers Bonnie and Clyde, used Remington Model 8 in the ambush. There's many reports that they had extended magazine version, which was an aftermarket modification to this rifle, made it 15 shots instead of 5. But that became very popular with police departments, law enforcement. From historical data and the best I can find out, and some photographs from the time, it appears it was just a regular stock Model 8. At least there's one sitting on the roof of Bonnie and Clyde's car. If you look at pictures, the shot of car that we just taken at the scene. But be that as it may, it was used to good effect on Bonnie and Clyde. That and BARs and Thompson submachine guns. I think 2 Model 8s were used by the deputy, one by Hammer and one by one of the deputies. But a little historic note there, firing the 35 Remington. So basically the same gun, same caliber. 35 Remington Model 8. I'm going to do some firing tests. I'm going to do an accuracy test on 100 yards. It's cloudy out today. I'll try and do a couple of chronograph shots with hornady lever revolution. That's what I use. I'm going to try and get a close-up with the other camera in slow motion on the action side of this, firing a couple of shots, just to see if I can capture the strange operation of this fine-made firearm. What was its primary intended purpose? Hunting rifle, a high-end hunting rifle for a sportsman in the early 20th century. In places where you can use a semi-automatic rifle to hunt, these were very popular. Woods cartridge, 35 Remington. Obviously, you get a box magazine. You can use pointed projectiles in this rifle, unlike a lever gun or slide action with a tubular magazine. The 300 Savage that come later in the Model 81, I think that was 1940 to 50, and he made that 10 years. Basically, that's almost the power of a 308, modern 308 rifle cartridge. And it's a fine hunting cartridge. It's kind of gone by the wayside. It's been eclipsed by the 308, but it's still, there's many rifles in existence in that caliber, and it's still being manufactured by the ammunition manufacturers. I think they do them in batches. I have some 300 Savage. I should have brought it out for comparison. Maybe I'll do it in a summary. But like I said, if you got one at 35 Remington, very useful cartridge. It does soften the recoil up this action from either shooting it out of a lever gun or a slide action. The rifle itself doesn't, the 35 Remington is not a powerhouse. It doesn't impart a lot of recoil, but it fires a 200 grain 35 caliber bullet, 3/5/8 thousandths of an inch. But 200 grains is the standard loading. You can get bullet weights from 180 to 220. You know, you can hand load the cartridge, which I do. 200 is the sweet spot for that cartridge. And with the modern Hornady Revolution, it goes from a 100, 150 yard cartridge to a 200 yard cartridge, maybe 2 1/4. A lot flatter trajectory with the modern pointed projectiles. And this is what the Revolution round looks like. It's a 35 Rem. I have some Federal here, traditional round nose, woodland stuff. I'll leave this out. In fact, I got an old Winchester silver tip here. That's 200 grain Winchester silver tip. It's in a Federal box here. The rest of these are Federal. That's a Federal. Round nose, blunt nose. It's got a low ballistic coefficient, so it sheds velocity quickly. This sheds velocity less quickly. You know, it's obvious, kind of like a speedboat and a tugboat. The profiles of the projectiles. So, and that's what we have. I'm going to do the accuracy test. I'm going to do the chronograph. I'm going to try to do close up on the action here. I'll do a comparative ballistic pendulum test where I shoot the 35 against the steel plate, 8-inch steel plate, versus the base for rifles. I use a 223 or 5.56, just to see the relative energies imparted. And I'll do a terminal effects test. 40 jugs, plywood, see if we can capture the projectile. But first up, I'm going to set this up for the 100-yard test. That takes 2 cameras, 1 camera on the target, walking back and forth. A lot of walking and hiking over rocks and stuff. So let me get to that, and we'll see you in a... Okay. I got the camera on me shooting, and the other one close up on the action when I fire. I got 3 shots of the chronograph. I'll just call out the numbers. It's Hornady FTX 200 grain Revolution cartridges, 200 grain FTX projectile. Let's see if we can get this on this camera. All right. 2080. 2128. 2157. There's 3 shots. That's about what you expect out of 35 Remington. 22-inch barrel. The other camera was in slow motion, so I couldn't do it up close up. Hopefully I caught the action reciprocating in slow motion. But on to the next test. Okay, back to do a 100-yard accuracy test. It's got very fine buckhorn sights on them. Very little fine front post and very little fine notch. I did these 2 shots off camera. I adjusted the front sight. It seems to be shooting to the right. I tried 3 or 4 shots at the bull, and that'll be it for our accuracy test with the 104-year-old rifle, semi-automatic, Remington Model 8. Zoom in on the target, and let me hike back. Okay, we'll go over that in the summary. That out. Okay, I'm back. I'm gonna do my little ballistic energy test with the steel plates. 8-inch AR-500 steel plates. 1 shot each. Center plate will be a 223, and obviously the rifle we're testing today is 35 Remington, 200 grain FTX hornady. We'll shoot the right plate. So center plate 223, right plate 35 Rem. I'll zoom in on the target and get the guns. Okay. Okay. And the plate's still swinging from the 35 Remington. That's our comparative energy test. I went back about 25 yards because too close on that sometimes you hit with the fragments. As you see, the fragments are cutting into the tree off that plate. That'll be it for our ballistic energy comparison, 223 versus 35 Remington. Okay. I'm just going to shoot 5 shots offhand at there's a C-zone steel torso down there at 50, 55 yards. About 45 yards at a pepper popper. And there's another steel plate at 65 yards. I get the other camera in slow motion. Hopefully you can capture the rifle cycling. There's 5 shots in the gun. Let me put my ears on and we'll do this. And that was just a little offhand wood shooting. Still have the terminal effects test to do. I got to gather some water jugs and do one more demonstration, and we'll go to the summary. Okay, I'm back for the terminal effects test. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 water jugs, 6-inch water jug, 3/4 inch piece of ply, another water jug, 3/4 inch piece of ply, another water jug, 3/4 inch piece of ply, another water jug, a little hardboard, and a 5th water jug. I'm going to shoot the Hornady Lever Revolution ammunition. I think in my other 35 Rem video with the Model 141 Game Master, I used traditional round nose 200 grain projectile Remington. That's what they look like. I'm going to use the flex tip in this test out of the Model 8 Remington rifle. Going to get the rifle, put a round in it, and we'll put my ears on. We'll do the test. Let me zoom in though. Okay, zoomed in. Okay, let me zoom this out. And we'll autopsy the results. Okay. All right. Jug 1 vaporized. Oh, freaking cobwebs. Pick this up a little. All right. Just shredded the jug. Jug 2. I think I went in there. This is the first piece of plywood after jug 1 before it struck jug 2. That's the entrance hole. It's starting to expand. There's the exit, big exit hole. Big hole going in the jug. Shredded that, blew that to pieces. Even though I was back 10 yards, I got dosed with the water. Pretty good. Second piece of plywood, clean through. That's the entrance, that's the exit. It was shot before, but they're marked. But that's the 35 Remington FTX. Third jug, blew it up and split it. It was leaned up against, this piece of plywood was leaned up against it. Put a big dent in the third piece of plywood. And I recovered the projectile. It was laying on the top of the barrel. And that's the FTX after I went through the terminal effects test. You know, a couple of pieces of plywood simulate shoulder bones like an elk or a moose. But it did a pretty good job. Fully expanded. I'll cover that in the summary. Looks like my camera's foggy. I think I got some water on the lens, so I gotta clean everything up. Summary will be next. Okay, I'm back. I thought it'd be interesting to shoot this F-350 pickup truck door. I'm gonna aim here. Heaviest part of the window frame. It's double layered. Seeing as they used such a weapon on Bonnie and Clyde's Ford. That's a Ford door. And I'm going to use a 200 grain soft nose Federal hunting round. One shot. Put the camera close up on the shot, and we'll see what happens. Okay. You get a little bit of an angle there. All right, here we go. Oh, it don't look like I had any trouble going through that. Let's bring it in for a close-up. Let's see. There's the entrance. Right through the heavy steel. No problemo. And right through the our unhappy guy there. So that's it for that little demo. All right. Okay, I'm back for the summary. It's a fine little rifle if you should acquire and have one of these. Model 8 Remington semi-automatic rifle. Functions well as exhibited in the videos. I didn't have one misfeed, one jam. I went through my normal battery of tests, chronograph, results. I called them out on camera. I don't have the board here. I did a more in-depth 35 Remington walkthrough in prior video with the 141 Game Master. Basically about the 2,000 grain, the 200 grain Hornady FTX projectiles, leaving this 22-inch barrel in the neighborhood of 2,100 feet a second. One was 2,080, if my memory served me right, and then a couple above, the other two were above 2,100. On the same chrono shot, I had the one camera in slow motion on the action to get a close-up of the very long and odd way it operates. The entire barrel goes in when it's fired. The barrel recoils with the bolt as one assembly together until it reaches the back of its stroke. There's a catch that holds the bolt, has a separate operating spring for the bolt carrier, separate operating spring for the barrel. Barrel pushes forward back to its original position. As it does, the case comes out of the chamber. It's still attached to the bolt, and then when it clears the barrel, the spring ejects it out the top, ejects out of the top of the weapon, There's no way to put a scope on top of the weapon. The ones that do have scopes mounted are mounted on the right side of the receiver, like an M1 Garand, and they're kind of few and far between. It has standard buckhorn rear sight, little tiny notch with an elevation ramp, and you slide to elevate it. And a very narrow front sight. And with these old eyes, some sights are hard to see, but I can still hit the target when the light's good. We did the ballistic pendulum test, 223 versus the 35 Remington. The 35 Remington has a lot more energy and smack than a 223. It's a very good woods heavy cover hunting round. I'm gonna pause this because I'm back. I had to put a hat on. The water was just running down on my eyes. It rained here a little while ago and the sun came out and the humidity is like 90%. Back to the rifle. Fine functioning rifle. If you should acquire one of these, inherit one of these, you have yourself a very fine piece of American craftsmanship. Timeless. Built like a tank. Its main purpose was a woods hunting rifle, ranges to 150 yards. If you had a scope on this, and with the lever revolution, you could stretch it out to 2 1/4. With these iron sights, it's about a 100-yard max hunting rifle, if I was to employ it in that role. I just take it out of the safe once in a while and shoot it. It's just a fine old rifle. I acquired it from a gentleman. He's about 85 years old. He was hanging things up. And, seeing as I like oddities, he sold it to me. He knew I'd take good care of it, and I do. As far as cleaning it, I just break it in half, clean the bore, lubricate the bolt, and all the parts I can reach through the receiver without taking the receiver apart. To pull the receiver apart and pull the bolt out, it's a big operation. Got to dedicate probably a half hour at least to take it down. Probably don't take it down, clean it, and reassemble it. Deep clean it. Take me an hour and a half, and it would make a whole video on its own. But I don't fire it that often. It doesn't get that dirty. It's not gas operated, and the action stays pretty clean. The blue one's good on this gun, and like I said, this was manufactured in 1920. So I guess Harding was president back then. This is in 35 Remington, very fine woods caliber. People have hunted large game with it, bears, elk, moose. Obviously, it's a very good deer and black bear cartridge. It's got far more killing power than the 30-30, which is a fine cartridge too. They all have their limitations. We did the ballistic pendulums. Did an accuracy test. I went out to 100 yards. I'm gonna have to explain this. I shot these two were off camera. These were Federal 200 grain round nose, traditional hunting bullets, round nose saw points. Then I continued using the Federal, and this is one, this is one, this is one, this is one. I was all over the place. I was shooting high. I adjusted the sights over, and then I was going to only do 3 shots. I wound up doing 9 shots. The last 3 were Hornady FTX 200 grain lever revolution. Those 3 shots there. About a 2.5 MOA group. These 3 rounds. This one in the middle belongs to the Federal. I don't know if that comes across on the camera there, but 2.5 MOA with old eyes and iron sights. These little in the early 20th century, all the rifles they made very precise, very fine sights for young eyes. And the older you get, the harder it is to focus on a front sight. I did say it was soft recoiling. I take that back because every time I fire it, I forget. It does give you a little bit of a shove, and I think the action enhances it. I said it softened it. It doesn't. It enhances the recoil of 35 a little bit. Not bad. Not horrendous. I did a shooting steel plates. I had the one camera, just the overall scene, shooting the C-zone torso target at about 50 yards, and the pepper popper that's 45 or 50 yards from my shooting position, just offhand. The other camera is in slow motion to catch the cycling of the gun, so I think I've captured that. Just like the slow motion when I was doing the chrono come across. I did a tribute to the Bonnie and Clyde days. I shot F-350 pickup truck door. It's going to the junkyard one of these days with I used a hornady? No, I'm sorry. I used a Federal 200 grain round nose soft point, which is the ammunition they would be using back in the 30s. Not the hornady lever revolution. Through the toughest part of the window frame on the door. Only because if you see photos of the actual car they were in, and the door frames are shot, the whole shot like Swiss cheese, and the doors and obviously the windows and the two bad people inside. They were folk heroes back in the 30s, though. Due to the Great Depression, banks foreclosing on people. It's a lot of good American history to read. But if you had to defend your life with this, is it a good rifle? Yes, you could. It's only 5 shots, but they're very effective 5 shots. Its primary purpose wasn't that, but it was pressed into service with law enforcement agencies across the United States. The FBI had these. They had an extended magazine conversion. It would hold 15 shots. The magazine, stuck down, but it was fixed. Still had to be loaded through the top. It takes stripper clips like a military rifle, like a Mauser or 1903 Springfield. I do not have stripper clips for 35 Remington because that's a non-stand. I'm sure those are collector items, Model 8 stripper clips. Shot the car door, bad guy, no problem. Went right through the frame, put that big ass hole right through the unhappy guy there, just for ha-has. Did the thermal effects test. That was 5 water jugs. I had a water jug, a 3/4 inch sheet of plywood. If it goes through a 3/4 inch sheet of plywood, it'll go through heavy bones. Another water jug, 6 inches of water. Another 3/4 inch piece of ply. Another water jug. Another 3/4 inch piece of ply. It shredded the first water jug, blew it up. Yeah, I believe this was number 1. Yeah, these were previously shot, but they were marked. This is the 35 Remington. Big hole in, big hole out. I imagine a projectile was starting to expand after the 4 inches of water, 6 inches of water. Second sheet of plywood is the 35 entrance, and there's the 35 exit. Blew that second water jug up and went through this piece of plywood. Blew up the third water jug and put a big divot in the wood. So very effective. I recovered the projectile. It was laying on top of the drum. I got it in this little, you missed that thing, little clamp. That's the expansion. I did not weigh it, and I didn't get my calipers, just due to the humidity and the rain going in and out of the house. But when I'm putting this together and editing it, I'll put it in the description, what it weighed and what it expanded to. But it looks like it retained most of its weight, and pedals peeled way back. Nice expansion. And did its job, and it went through the 3 water jugs, 18 inches of water, and 2 heavy pieces of plywood, 3/4 inch pieces of plywood. The Model 81 that followed this, basically the same gun. It takes down 2, like I demonstrated in the introduction. Take this gun down, take this screw out, take the fore end off, unscrew the barrel assembly lock here. It's on a lever, and pull the barrel out at this point here, and you have a gun that's very short. Nice packable gun. From 1936 to 50, they made the Model 81 Woodmaster. And they dropped the 25 Remington caliber, but they did come out with the chambered in 300 Savage. That's the 300 Savage. This is a 150 grain load. I think these do about 2,750 feet a second. If you should acquire, say you're looking for one of these, you'd like to collect it or own one, try and get it in either the 35 Remington or the 300 Savage. I'm kind of glad I got it in the 35 Remington. It's kind of a historic caliber. It goes back, over 100 years. This was designed in 1920, 300 Savage. This was designed in 1908. So this is almost a 308, almost in the same class as a 308, modern 308 or 7.62 NATO. And it was designed in the 1920s. So 30 caliber. As the case is side by side, or the case is almost the same length. The 300 Savage, you had much more powder space than the 35 Remington. But it's a fine rifle in either caliber. If you get in one of the obsolete calibers, basically it's going to be a wall hanger unless you do some very fancy reloading and forming your own cases and reloading your own ammunition. There's probably a boutique shop somewhere that loads it. But yes, obviously with the terminal effect tests, the game animal, or if you're defending your house, any rifle you're going to shoot inside a house, most likely you're going to go through a human assailant. So make sure you have a firing lane with a backstop if you're setting up your position in the house where you're going to just wait for the arrival of the police. An Alamo room is what I would call it. A bedroom, back bedroom in the house. And, you give them fair warning. They kick the door in and come into your bedroom and you have to engage them. That will do the job. and then some. But it will pass through the bad guy. And you got to be aware of that. Like I said, they're just tools. You could go out deer hunting with this in heavy woods today and harvest your deer. Take 50, 75-yard shot. And with these sights, in my eyes, I wouldn't push it beyond 75 or 100 max. If I had a scope on or something, different matter. Or if you could fix some kind of, you'd never do that. That would be blasphemy, putting a red dot on it or something. But that's going to be it for my Remington Model 8 in 35 Remington video. If you like this content, like and share and subscribe, and I'll make them as I go. It's like a little hobby for me, and with this remote mic, the audio seems to be better. So hopefully that improves. You make sure the little green light is on, otherwise it won't transmit. Little $20 microphone set from Amazon. Well, with that, have a good evening.